On this episode of Hudson Valley Hustle, I'm joined by Anthony Cascarino from Cascarino's in Montgomery. It's a family-owned pizzeria that's been in business for over 20 years. It's a great episode if you're in the food business, or even if you just like food. Hope you enjoy the episode. Every town has like 5 pizzerias, right? And everybody has like their pizzeria.
Right.
How do people choose that? Like, what does it come down to? As Cascarino's, like, why do people choose Cascarino's as their pizzeria when that industry is very competitive? You guys have obviously been very successful.
Yep.
Been open for how many years?
23 years.
You're not open for 23 years without doing something, right?
Right.
So, like, what makes it the place that people go to for their pizza? You know what I mean?
It's just, we started many years ago. My father and I back in 01 when he opened up. And we've always wanted everybody to feel like family. So when you come through that door, they're a part of our family. That's first and foremost. Secondly is obviously, top quality ingredients. We use the best cheese out there, grande cheese. We use the best tomatoes, Stanislaus tomatoes. And we just put a lot of love and care into all the food that we make, not only pizza. And it just keeps drawing people back. We've been consistent, for 2 decades.
Yeah.
We've never changed anything. And that's all you really have to do. And again, we treat everybody like family. Everybody always has a smile on their face when they walk in. And we just, at the end of the day, it's food. And food is supposed to make people feel good and make people happy. And that's really what my staff and I really get out of all this.
Yeah, it's one of the most competitive industries you could possibly be in. So being able to say that you've been around for that long is definitely a testament to a lot of things that you guys are doing right, obviously. Why, just being in this business for 20-something years now, like why do so many restaurants fail? Why do you think they fail?
It's a good question. I think a lot of times is sometimes they don't really know what they're getting into, and they don't have a drawn-out plan for 5 or 10 years. Everybody thinks that it's all glitter and gold, and it's easy and anybody could do it. But you really have to. It's a grind. It's a grind. Every day you wake up is a grind. It's a new challenge. You don't know what you're going to get into. Somebody calling out sick, piece of equipment might be down. For me, I was born into this business. It's something that I don't know anything else for almost 42 years. But you just have to wake up and just challenge every day and take it on full steam. Again, people don't realize the cost of goods. They don't realize the cost of labor. And again, it's hard if you really can't devote 100% of your time into this business. In the industry, rather the restaurant industry, the food industry, it's very, very hard to survive.
Yeah, you see them all the time. What is it? Yeah. It's a very high percentage of restaurants fail within the first year or 2 or 3 years. Yeah,
it is. And again, a lot of restaurants fail, and it takes a good 3 to 5 years, I think, for any business for people to start making a profit. Again, it's just a grind of getting up and doing it yourself. And, thank God, like I said, we've been doing it for over 2 decades. Mm-hmm. We're very well established. I have a great staff. And it's a well-oiled machine, man. People, my staff comes in, they know what they have to do. And I always say you keep the staff happy, and these are people that you see sometimes more than your own family.
Absolutely.
So they become really close family. You keep them happy, and you keep them, knowing what the prize is at the end of the day. They're going to continue to grind for you.
Sure. Yeah. And everybody thinks they've got the best idea, right?
Right.
This place is going to crush it. This place is going to crush it. There's nothing like this here.
Right.
But there's probably a good reason why there's nothing like that there a lot of the time.
No, and
right?
it's something that my father had always said. Competition is always a good thing. And like you said, the pizza industry, it's heavily saturated. Any town you go into, you have 5 or 6,
right,
pizzerias all within a 5-mile radius. And at the end of the day, and this is something that I always live by, we all do this for the same reason. We all want to just pay our bills and provide for our families. But again, everybody does everything a little bit differently. Mm-hmm. Every place uses different product. and every place has different recipes. So obviously you're going to get some places that are better than others, but there's plenty of business out there for all competition. And again, we all have the same purpose at the end of the day.
Yeah, for sure. So you've been in the restaurant food business for pretty much your entire life?
Pretty much my entire life.
So what happened before your dad had the restaurant?
So my father also used to, he worked for FedEx at the time.
Okay.
As well. So my father, growing up with two other siblings, and at the time, as a young kid, my mother didn't work. So he was doing everything that he could to provide for the family. Him and my uncle, his brother, had started back in the late 80s in Queens, where they grew up. So they had a pizzeria in College Point. They opened up another location in Whitestone. They opened up another location in Bayside, all in Queens. And then at one point, we were the official pizza of the Mets. We had concession stands in Shea Stadium. But, again, the business was a grind. My dad was busting his tail. We were living in Montgomery. He was going.
You were up here and he was going down there? That's crazy.
Yeah, we were up here. I was born and raised in Montgomery. He was working hard and doing FedEx during the day and going to the pizzeria at night. So from Montgomery to Queens, and then a place opened up in the ShopRite Plaza, and
so it's always been there. It's always been in that spot.
Our location has been there. Again, in October of this year, it'll be 24 years.
Gotcha. So you were involved so as a kid, were you how was your work ethic as a kid?
Yeah,
what was the deal? Because I grew up in an Italian family, right? The kids worked. That's what we did. And we either went to work with your father or your grandfather.
Yep.
That's what you would do as a kid.
And that's what I do with my two boys now, Nicholas and Nolan. They're 10 and 7, and they come into work with me on their days off from school, over the summer, on the weekends, and they love it. But back then we had no choice. Our fathers would tell you, hey, get up, come out. You got to help me out at the pizzeria, whether it's be washing dishes. We were at the salad station on milk crates, putting salad in the containers and doing everything like that. Making pizzas, working the front, wiping things down. And, same thing. My boys, they love it, which makes me happy. And again, I wish more parents would do that for their kids these days, but we'll get there. we'll get there.
No, it's true. It's good that your kids love it, though, right? Because this is just my assumption, but tell me if I'm wrong. But I could see that as being a really good way to spend time with dad too, because being in the restaurant, you've got to be there.
Yeah.
You're probably there a lot, is my guess.
Yes.
So them being there is a good opportunity for them to spend time with you too,
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah. It's a great bonding experience. They learn a lot of responsibility. They learn great work ethic. And honestly, for me, I enjoy my customers, seeing them there as well. They think it's a really cool thing, the customers, and then also my kids think it's cool as well. The only difference is my kids expect to get paid now, and I didn't get paid as a kid.
That's
so
right.
Now I got to shell out $5 every time they come in, so that's $10 a pop.
That's right.
But it's worth it. They're great boys, and they work hard for their age. So
that's good.
It's fun. Yeah.
Be like, boys, go turn on the lights. You know how they turn on? That's how you get paid.
Absolutely. But it's the funny thing is, they go in there and they do all that stuff. They know how, where everything is.
That's awesome.
And it's a lot of fun.
Do you see this as a generational business? Do you see this? I mean, it obviously happened with you and your dad. It's kind of how it worked out. But do you see this kind of staying in the family? Do you ever think about that?
I do. I think about it often. But also, for me personally, because I had done it for so long growing up, and even when I was in college, I was working at my uncle's store in Queens, for 4 or 5 years. And then, on the breaks, winter breaks and summer breaks, I would come home and I would work at, my dad's, place full time. I think about my boys getting into the business, and I always say, if it's something that they love and something that they enjoy, then, yes, I want them to go for it. But they're still young, so we'll see what happens. I would love it if they do, but I wouldn't be upset if they didn't.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good philosophy. I would think. I mean, you always want your kids to do better than you did, right? I think that's number one, right?
Yep.
But you also want them to kind of follow their own path to some degree as well.
Yeah, exactly, 100%.
And if their own path is what is what dad does. That's awesome. I feel like that's great. Like leaving that legacy is super important.
Yeah. Yeah. And even if they don't, the legacy will be there because we'll find somebody to do it.
Seriously. That's right. So you went from essentially working for the business, right, to now running it.
Yeah.
How did that transition affect you and maybe your team or anything like that? Did anything change? Did the dynamic change when?
Well, yeah. So I bought in with my father in 2007, a couple years after I had graduated. I had bought his partner out at the time.
Okay.
And then, prior to that, cell phones really weren't around yet. They were just coming about. There was no social media. There wasn't even Google for Google reviews or anything like that. And then just like anything else, just through time, these things started taking off. And for me, graduating at the time of college that I did back in 2005, and then, learning all these new forms of advertising and marketing and stuff like that came about, that's when the business kind of really took off. And then we just continued to work at it. We've never done any print out flyers, no mailers, nothing like that. We always let word of mouth be our marketing. So that was always big. But then again, when social media came out, it was just easy for any business to really get exposure and get out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So that was kind of like fortunate timing then for you because you came out at a time where, like you said, that stuff was kind of up and coming, and the ones that adapted to it really quick benefited from it.
Right.
So, and I listen, we work in social media. That's what we do every day. We manage social campaigns and run video ads and video campaigns, and we see businesses that don't want to adapt.
Right.
That will not change no matter what. They are so romantic about the way they did things 30 years ago. I'm still going to run the ad in the freaking phone book, and that's how I'm going to get customers.
No, you have to adapt. You have to change with the times. And, it was weird for my father to finally accept that, because now you're looking at, a guy who is, in his, mid and late 40s, has no idea what's going on. But when you finally see that to start evolving and start generating customers and generating business, you're like, oh wow, okay, we got something going here.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. No. It's it's one of those things where you got to just adapt or die.
Yeah.
That's
right. It's just like when you go on TikTok and Instagram now, and you see all these guys with other pizzerias, and they're taking off just by making one video, and somebody says, you could bust your butt for 4 years and not get that exposure, but then that 5th year comes, and then all of a sudden just one video, and then you take off, and there's no looking back.
It's wild, right?
Yeah,
it's amazing, and that it's transformed people's businesses.
Oh yeah,
not only like kept them afloat and allowed them to survive, but blow up into something that they didn't think would happen.
Yeah, exactly.
It's remarkable, and that's awesome. I love hearing that. And that was probably good for your dad.
It was, yeah,
because he wasn't going to be going like, what the hell is Facebook? He's not like.
And it was also good because he didn't know how to use a phone or anything at the time, so he didn't have to see anything that was getting posted or anything that was out there. And then COVID happened, which was another big
pivot.
But it actually, it actually helped our business in a way because I had to adapt on the spot. I had to adjust a lot of things. So our whole, takeout and delivery and catering business got all changed, and we just we did very well during COVID. It kind of took off for us and helped us out a lot.
Yeah, it's good
with everything that we did with that.
I hear that. I've done like 40 something of these interviews, and I'm telling you, in a lot of them, I hear it's like things really changed, during COVID. Like a lot of people started to thrive, and
well, that's the thing. If you didn't adapt. And if you didn't adjust to what was going on, then you weren't going to survive during those times. We came up, we had different ideas, we had different things that we ran, every single day for 2.5, 3 years. And a lot of people forget, a lot of people weren't working at that time, except for the restaurant industry workers. We were there every single day, dealing with the nonsense and. They're not wearing their mask and they're not doing this and they're not doing that. But we were there providing food for people.
Yeah.
But we capitalized on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was
That's
it
good.
was good.
No, that's good. It's good to hear like positive stuff.
Yeah.
Coming out of that disaster that we dealt with. So working with your dad, talk to me about the family dynamic, like the family business dynamic, right? Is it like, you know what I always think of? You remember Orange County Choppers?
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
remember
it was-
that?
Yep.
Like,
And then we're right around the corner from us over in
that's
Montgomery.
right, exactly.
So,
They used to have the shop right up the street.
Right up the street
practically,
from us, yeah.
Is it like that sometimes, or is it, pretty
not,
cool?
Not sometimes, all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. Every day was
like a reality show, like basically.
Yeah, well, you have two different generations, and you have people trying to run the same business two different ways. And we had always, there were tough times, but at the end of the day, especially being from an Italian family and stuff like that, we scream and yell and fight, and 5 minutes later, you forget about it.
Yeah.
And you're saying I love you and I'm sorry and things are good.
And then you do it all over again
And then
tomorrow,
we do it
right?
all again the next day,
thought so.
and then
Yeah,
the next
yeah.
day, and then there'll be a couple weeks where it didn't happen, and be like, you know what, we didn't scream and yell this week. Let's start now.
Let's start. I'm telling. It's like you're preaching to the choir.
Yeah.
Because it's who's not talking to this person this week.
Yeah.
They're together again. They're it's on again, off again.
Yeah.
These relationships. It's like.
But again, you have to, and it was never anything really personal. It was just because we both wanted the business to succeed,
Sure.
and do well. It was just we both had different takes on certain situations at times.
Yeah. And you're spending a lot of time together too, which that that's not traditional,
even, right? And it's not even the time together. It's the text messages, it's the phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
So even if you're not physically there
Sure.
with each other, it's still
Always connected.
Always connected.
Yeah.
Always.
And that could be a lot,
It's a little stressful,
right?
Yeah, it's a little stressful.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it was all fun.
But like you said, at the end of the day, it's like
Yeah, at the end of the day.
I made some garlic bread. You want some?
Yeah.
like something like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
And it's like, you knew everything was fine.
Everything was fine.
That's it.
You don't even talk about it anymore.
That's so funny. Oh my
Yeah.
god, I love it. I love that. Yeah. It's just just growing up in Italian,
Yeah. Well, and
part of the norm. Like people
that's the-
outside don't understand it.
Right, and that's the thing too is you could. People always think, oh, you guys are yelling at each other, and I'm like, no, that's how we talk.
how we talk.
We're raising our
So
voice.
funny.
We're just speaking a little louder so they could hear us.
So everybody can hear us.
So everybody could hear us. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's great. Oh my god, that's awesome. Mm-hmm. Are your boys like that too?
No.
Really?
Yeah. So my
okay.
boys. You kind of learn how to change certain things in a household when you kind of, grow up and live with it for a while. Mm-hmm. So we tend not to go that route.
Gotcha. Break the cycle kind of thing?
Break the cycle. They're still rather young, It's not to say that maybe when my oldest turns 16 that if he's working for me, we're not going to drop a few F-bombs at each other and, do that. But for now, it's all good.
That's good.
Yeah.
All right. Just write it now and see what happens.
See what happens.
That's cool. That's all good. We just go back to the. You were just talking about marketing before. I wanted to not forget to ask you this. Restaurants, I feel like, live and die by reviews.
Yeah.
Is that true? What's your take on it?
People are gonna go out and they're gonna speak their mind. And so granted, if you look on our Google page, we have close to 800 reviews, which is great. And this is for a business that's been around for 23 years. And I'd say the first maybe 15 of those years, like Google really wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah, sure.
So people weren't doing it. Mm-hmm. We do appreciate all the reviews that we get, whether they're good or bad. You always want to try and fix the bad ones. You always want to try and thank the good ones. Mm-hmm. Again, I think it speaks volumes for how long a place has been in business that you don't really need those good reviews to continue to last. Because if you look at, our customer database and you see everybody that's been with us for, 20 years that didn't leave a review,
Yeah.
So to me, the reviews, I mean, they could definitely hurt a business. I always try and stay neutral when it comes to personal matters, politics, everything like that, because at the end of the day,
you're just gonna piss off half your customers,
right? So it really doesn't do you any justice. But again, I always try and fix anything negative that may happen. But I always also try and thank the positives. We thank people every day for coming in when they get their food and pick up, and again, it's something that without the customers, we wouldn't be around.
Sure.
I have kids that work for me now that used to come in when they were 1 and 2 years old.
Does that make you feel old?
It makes me feel old, yeah. But it also makes me know that we've been doing something right.
That's true.
For this whole time, for their parents to continue to stay loyal to us, and for the kids to really, grasp and say, hey, I want to go work at Cascarino's.
Yeah.
And for me, I always tell people, whether you're a delivery driver, a dishwasher, counter person, that's not going to be your job your whole life. So I want those kids that come in, I want them to kind of get something from me and from the business that they're going to learn, that they're going to take with them for
that's great
for their future.
Yeah, definitely. I've always said this, and maybe I'm a little biased because I worked in food for a long time too. When I was younger, I think everybody should work in the food business.
100%.
At some point in their lives.
Everybody should try. You know what I say is everybody should try and unhook and hook a bag in the box to the soda fountain. You ever do that before?
I have done that.
On a Friday night during a rush, stop what you're doing, go to the back, wherever that bag in the box might be, and just deal with that stress for about 10 minutes of having to try. And that'll tell you if somebody's going to really make it in life, if you could do that or not on a Friday night rush.
Are they still in like the boxes where you got to pull the spout out? And
they're in the brown boxes. You pull the spout out, you try and take the frickin' thing off, you take the hose off, try and get it connected.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
If it's not on, if it's not flush to
it's like diffusing a bomb under pressure, like when somebody needs a Diet Pepsi right now.
But no, I agree. I think everybody should try and work in the hospitality industry, and just get a feel for it.
Yeah, I mean, you learn so much, right? You learn how to sell, you learn how to multitask, you learn how to communicate. There's so many things that I feel like I realized I was good at because I was good, and I worked front of house, back of house too. So I was a cook, I was a server,
that's awesome.
Just doing all of it, and it was just like I feel so much more appreciation for people that work in hospitality if I ever go out to eat. Like I know 100% what they're dealing with.
Yes.
So like if things are rough, I know it's cool. I know it's going to be all right. And if things are good, they're doing something really well.
Well, yeah, and when you talk about things being rough, is like we're all human. We make mistakes,
and it is high stress. It's
at the end of the day, you never want to make a mistake. You always want to do your best, but it's going to happen. So if there's something that you weren't happy with your order, just give a call. Calm it down a little bit, take a couple deep breaths, and we'll make it right. And not just us; it's everybody.
Right.
I'm sure no pizzeria, no restaurant wants somebody, wants to make food for somebody, and that customer not be happy with it.
Sure.
But
it's not your goal, right?
It's right. It's gonna happen, but no matter who it is, they'll always do right by you.
Absolutely, and I think that's really what counts, right? Like, is just fix it, like just fix the problem, and everybody can move on. But yeah, it's definitely an industry where people should experience at some point in their lives, and do it young.
I'd say
it's the perfect job.
I'd say 15 and 16 is a good age.
I was 14 when I got my first job at a restaurant. I got blue working papers at Washington Valley High School. I remember getting them. I was 14. I was pumped.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm going to get a job and making $30 a week. It was amazing.
You went to a restaurant and you're like, oh man, why'd I do this?
Yeah, right. I said that, but then I stayed in that restaurant. I almost went to the culinary. I actually almost I kind of fell in love with the industry, and then I was like, I don't think I could do this every day.
Well, that's the thing. People. You get a feel for it, and you fall in love with what you do. You develop a passion for it, So, like for me, for instance, as a kid, my passion was watching, my father and my uncle and their pizza guys and the cooks that they had there, and forming those relationships with these people. and seeing them make food and seeing them interact with customers. Again, it was just one of those things. When I was in college, I was just like, yeah, this is kind of the route that I'm going to go. And I went to Iona. I had a great, I got a marketing degree from there.
Nice.
And it was a great school, and I experienced the college thing. But then I came into the family business.
Right to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great. And again, that helped you. I mean, that was
it did.
You had, I think you had to do that in order to.
And the funny thing is now, you look at us and we're here and doing podcasts and talking to people, and we interact. I interact with customers every day, hundreds of people. And in college, you were afraid to get up in front of a classroom and speak in front of people. But that's just the way that.
Yeah, isn't that wild?
That things happen. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like you could talk to a couple hundred people in a day, but you put them all in a room,
right?
And you have to talk to all of them at the same time. It's a totally different story.
And I love having the interaction with the
one-on-one, right?
One-on-one,
like that.
Yep.
Yeah, I love that.
Yep.
That's why I love doing this, because it's like it gives me a chance to just chat with somebody, and that I probably wouldn't have. Like if I came into your pizzeria, I probably wouldn't get this kind of like insight from you. You know what I mean?
You might.
Maybe.
If we had time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's I like that. I just like that one-on-one type of a thing. And it's,
Yeah, me too.
I like places where it sounds cheesy as hell, but like I like places that I walk into and they know my name. Right. That's to me, that's a sign of like this place kind of gets it. They know their customers.
And it's a loyalty. I think customers really appreciate that.
100%.
I probably know 95% of my customers' names and their orders and addresses. But that's just what we do as a business. You just take that extra step because you care so much. And again, at the end of the day, it's because you know that it's going to make your business succeed.
Yeah, 100%. I want to ask you about things. I'm going to forget about this because I ask everybody that's in food, whether they're on the show or not, what are your thoughts on Yelp? You could be honest.
Yeah, I mean, it is what it is.
I know restaurants specifically.
It is what it is. Again, I mean, I don't like it.
Thank you. That's all I was trying. That's all I wanted, Anthony.
Yeah,
that's all I want.
Yeah, I don't like it.
Okay.
I don't like it.
I think it's one of the worst. Personally, this is just me. It's one of the worst businesses.
Yeah, it's a bad platform
out there.
It's a bad platform. It definitely is. Yelpers will go on and they'll leave 1-star reviews or 2-star reviews, and they'll put a funny looking picture of themselves up there, and then they'll never go on it again.
Yeah.
But they don't realize what that does to a business.
Well, but it's not even just, so you got the Yelpers that are the problem, right? Yelpers are one problem where like they live to go on there and just shit on businesses, right? That's what they do. But Yelp is the other problem.
Right.
Where they will suppress good stuff and then try to get you to pay and run ads on their platform. And then it's like, oh, magically all the good reviews start to appear.
Yeah.
Stay off of it. If like my personal advice doesn't have to be yours. My advice: stay off of Yelp.
Yep. No, 100%. Stay off Yelp. Stay off Yelp.
Just go to if you're going to go somewhere, go to Google.
I thought they were actually going to do away with Yelp years ago.
Yeah.
But we'll see.
At some point,
It's
got to go at some point.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Cascarino's. It's in Montgomery, but how do people get in touch with you if they want to either learn more about you, learn more about the restaurant, do catering, place an order? Where are you guys? And give us the rundown.
We're in the ShopRite Plaza, right off of 84 and Route 208 in Montgomery, 121 Hawkins Drive, 845-457-1014. We have a full online ordering menu. In store, we have our catering menu. I also have, I have customers that reach out to us on Facebook and Instagram. We send our menus out on there. Super Bowl's coming up, giant day for us. So we're asking for people to put their Super Bowl orders in advance because it's going to be a busy day. Yeah.
Sweet. That's awesome. Anything else you want to touch on before we wrap up? Anything you want people to know, or any little nugget of insight that you can give somebody either thinking about going into the food industry or?
No, I mean, I just, again, we're very, very, blessed and thankful for all the customers that we've had throughout the 23 years that we've been there. We spoke about my father early on. I just wanted to mention that he did just recently retire back in November. I gained 2 new partners. My father is still a part of the business on payroll, helping me out.
Nice. I was going to ask if he's still there, even though he's retired.
He's still helping me out. But it's good because he's He has a smile on his face every day. He enjoys coming into work. My 2 new partners, though, are doing very well. It's a friend of mine, Eric Maldonado, and also my chef of 8 years, Angel Rodriguez. So, we're looking forward to the future. Again, we're in the ShopRite Plaza in Montgomery, 845-457-1014.
Congrats, man.
Thank you.
This is great.
Yeah, awesome.
It's good to see the family business keep going with the name. Keep the name going, man.
It's a lot of fun. Thank you.
That's good. Thanks, man. Thanks for coming on.
No problem.